Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Mail. So for today, going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy. He actually wrote me back in the summertime. He is a passport bro, shared his story about his situation with his wife and all that. But this time he's writing in about a friend of his. A friend of his who recently has had the last laugh in getting his job back because he had lost his job thanks to some BS from his female coworker. A female coworker who he thought was his friend for 10 years, and then she got a giant bug up her you-know-what, and things went downhill from there. However, you're going to see this guy handles himself well and definitely has the last laugh. And it's a very important lesson just how you got to obviously watch what you say and do in the workplace, anything associated with work, and how very quickly, when it comes to the gals involved, how sadly the guy is always the bad guy and villain and gets fired first and asks questions later, and you got to be careful. And of course, the lack of accountability. However, the lesson is how important it is for a guy to not take things lying down, stand up for yourself, and you should at least in the end, hopefully, have the last laugh and become triumphant. And in this situation, our guy does. So kick back. It's a longer one, but a good one. It says, hello SSM. Today I'm writing in about a friend. Not so much about me or a couple's relationship, but a story about a good friend of mine who I've known for decades and how a female friend of his, went above and beyond to try to ruin his life to try and save her own butt. Since Halloween is approaching, the drama that takes place over a Halloween costume and some fake outrage, it looks like my friend is going to come out as a victor in this saga. Some parts of this story can be a little confusing, so I'll do my best to keep it as clear as I can, but in the end, it's all worth it. My good friend, I will call him Jose. We met on the job when we were both just out of high school. For the sake of the story, you will likely guess the location of the city because it's a major part of the story. I moved to this city a few years ago after I met Jose, but kept in contact with him. This event happened in the late 90s. I had a good friend who had moved to this place, and after he got into a management position in a major casino, he invited me to move out there. So obviously we're talking about Vegas here. He had a job lined up for me at the time. The money was much better than where I grew up, and the cost of living was about the same. So it was a win-win. After a couple of years, I convinced Jose to move down with me and give it a shot. We were roommates for a while until he got on his own 2 feet and got his own place. He's a hard worker and somehow got to know the right people to get into the best places to work in the city. He says, listen, the saying is true, it's not what you know, but who you know. I have learned that time and time again, gentlemen. Trust me, you want to know shit, obviously, but to have doors open up for you and opportunities, it's amazing when you know people, what a quick phone call, text, or email can do to help you out. Of course, you want to know people because you are a good person and want to know people anyway, not use people, but you get my point. As for me, I joined the military and went all around the world and found my current wife. When I left the service, I came back home again and Jose and I reconnected. For the past 15 years or so, he'd been working as a banquet server job in a major strip casino. For those not aware, these banquets are large parties usually put on by big companies as company parties. Sometimes there are over 1,000 guests, and the servers will serve usually a 3 to 4 course meal to everyone. They are open bars, entertainment, and almost always a dance floor. The servers will receive an hourly wage, and gratuity is always included for every event. So one event can make you anywhere between a couple $100 and go as high as several $100s or more. That's per employee, per server, for one night. That's a pretty good deal. In most of these places, there are 3 tiers of employment as a banquet server. Bottom B is the lowest tier, B, medium tier, and A, top tier. Jose worked his way up all the way to being a top tier list server. Bottom B servers need to call in every week to see what positions are available and try to pick what suits them for the week. Many people in a bottom B position will work several properties until a position opens up to move up, B level, which gives them regular schedule. Servers work the most events and A servers can work most events and can sometimes work breakfast, lunch, and dinner events on the same day, 4 to 6 days a week, very long hours, but big money. Hey, I got no problem people starting off at the bottom and working their way up. Builds fucking character. I usually don't ask my friends what they make, but in a conversation we had, he told me he was making over $200,000 a year. Holy shit. He says yes, as a food server. But trust me, he works. On some days, he's lucky to sleep 4 hours before he has to be up again ready for the next shift. Jose is Mexican. I named him that so you'll be easy to understand. That fact is very relevant to the story. 200 grand a year. I mean, it's Vegas, and he's a top tier server, and these big ass banquet parties where these companies are throwing away money like it's nothing. Yeah, but yeah, he works his tail off. Anyway, years ago, while I was away, Jose met up with this other Mexican gal who worked banquets, and they became friends. And ultimately, they became roommates for a while. He became roommates with a chick. I will call her Maria. I never met Maria personally, but I think at the same time they were both working as bottom B servers. So the money wasn't as great. As a man, I asked if anything was going on. And he told me that he liked her and tried, but she wasn't interested, so he left it at that. And they're fucking roommates? Smack! Yeah, I can see it now. Oh yeah, we can be roommates. And he's thinking, I'm going to get some. And she's like, nah, that's stupid. I guess the two of them grew very close and became good friends and relied on each other as friends and co-workers. Or he was just waiting around the friend zone, but eventually learned. Fast forward years later, Jose met a beautiful woman for himself finally. I will call her Betty. Betty's sister worked with Jose, and Betty is also a banquet server, but at a different property. Well, that's a good idea. You should have a husband and wife working together all the time. You need space. She turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to him. No drama, no bitching, no problems. They seem to fit each other like a glove, and they have been incredibly happy ever since they met. Hey, wonderful. Some years ago, Maria married a black man who I found out is one of those guys who is far too jealous of his girl, has a total victim mentality, and is about to all a bunch of nonsense. Oh, great. He wears a beard and refuses to shave it for work. He's also in the hospitality industry, but because of the beard thing, he rarely works and has Maria work to support the family. She's now an A-list server. The husband, I will call him Ray. Now, what I didn't know about the banquet server community is that there are group pages on social media that create private groups for our city where they share info and whatnot. Somebody was throwing a Halloween party last year at their private residence, and a bunch of people in the community were invited, including Jose, Betty, Maria, and Ray. Jose was working a shift that day and had tried to get off time to attend. Since everyone was dressing up, he was trying to figure out something to wear. But he had to think of something on the fly. Jose decided to call his good friend Mark, who was Jamaican, and they had been close for years. Mark had taken Jose to reggae festivals, and he remembered that he still had some reggae gear in the trunk of his car. On the phone, he asked Mark, "Can I go as you to the party?" Confused, Mark asked what he meant. Jose says, "I have a uniform for work, and I can cover my name tag and put your name." One time I went to a party when I was working in a restaurant, like in 1998, as one of the managers. One of the managers always has such a unique look, and he was a dork. I wanted to see him with a name tag saying Tom on here. And guess what? Fucker showed up at the party and saw me being him. We had our picture taken together. No hard feelings. Then I'll put on the reggae hat and some gear. Mark laughed and said, "Yes, you have my permission." But Jose also had an idea to combine his own culture with it as well. He put on a Day of the Dead makeup as well to give it the Mexican flair. For those that don't know what it is, think of the movie Coco, and they paint their faces like skulls. Okay, I know what you're talking about here. But okay, he's going as a reggae guy, so I guess he's going to have a hat and you know, all things that you would associate with a reggae guy. Well, I am sure some of you guys can already see the problem here in modern times. Like, oh, this guy's insulting my culture or something like that. But he's going for the Coco look, like that movie where, you know, that little dude goes to the afterlife where everybody's like, you know, skeleton people and stuff like that. The thing about our city, even in late October, the weather can still be hot, even at night. It really doesn't cool down until sometime in November. He's talking about Vegas again. So as the party went on, everyone was enjoying themselves, and his costume was a hit with everyone, especially those that knew him and loved Mark. Even Maria and Ray were dressed up in Day of the Dead costumes. The problem was, Jose's makeup began to run. There was a bonfire, and he was hot and sweating. Jose eventually just went to the bathroom and tried to wash off the makeup. Most of it came off, but there was some smeared, so he did his best to remove it. Jose is a rather dark-skinned Mexican guy, and the leftover smeared makeup made him look like more dark than usual. As in most cases, pictures were taken of the event, and even Maria posed with Jose. And they took some pictures together. Everyone seemed to have had a great time. Okay, so you can see it's a party, everybody's having a good time. This Maria chick, who's his buddy, They're having fun, no problem. She's posing in the pictures. But the makeup is smearing. So no longer he looks like a skeleton face. Now it looks like it's darkening, like he's... Well, you guys can probably... I gotta watch what I say here, but you can follow. Now let's start the drama. Jose hadn't worked the same events with Maria for a couple of weeks, but when he did, she seemed very irritated with him. Well, that's a strange twist. What possibly could have happened? She had never been like this before, so he asked her what was wrong. She then began to berate him loudly and very publicly. Not cool. That's when you walk away. She was telling him how he was an idiot and calling him other names in front of everyone. Jose got angry and asked her what the hell is she talking about. She says, didn't you see what everyone was saying about you and your stupid Halloween costume? This was in the private groups online. No, what are they saying, he said. She said that everyone was saying how you were making fun of Mark, the Jamaican, and he was doing, wait for it, BLACK face. Oh, for goodness sake. Mark is his friend and was helping him. Jose said, what? Maria said, yeah, you know, my husband is black. He was so pissed off at you. Jose said, if he was so pissed, then why didn't he say something at the party? Besides, you all know I was dressed up as Day of the Dead, like you two were. What's the problem? She continued to berate him in front of their coworkers and guests. Jose said he was so hurt by this woman who knew him better than that, so he just told her, you know, they have a zero-tolerance policy for speaking to people in this way. I can easily report you to Human Resources, as there are so many witnesses. Remember this girl is supposedly his friend? Jose then left and refused to interact with her anymore. But his threat to report to HR scared her. She told her husband, and the two of them devised a plan to save her job. They had to control the narrative. He used the letterhead of another casino to write an anonymous letter and send to the HR department of Jose's employer. This included a whole fake outrage of how Jose was making fun of his Jamaican coworker and putting on the BLACK face. Oh, for God's sakes. Notice the coworker, Mark, who's Jamaican, isn't complaining. They included photos of the alleged incident and demanded he be fired. In November, Jose was to take a vacation with Betty, and on his last work day, he was leaving. The banquet director called him and asked to speak with him in her office. Her office. Jose and the director have gotten along for years, and she likes and respects him. She wanted to talk about this complaint. She informed him of the letter and how HR was investigating the incident. What a freaking a-hole that Maria girl is. She wanted to see what she could do to help defend him because she had a feeling HR was about to come down on him hard. He told her everything that happened and even told her to call Mark and ask him if he was okay with Jose dressing as him at the party. She said she will do what she can, but this may turn out bad for you. The company doesn't take these sorts of allegations and won't tolerate them. He understood and thanked her. He went home and left for vacation. What a great way to start your vacation, huh? And this company, whatever casino it is in Vegas, they do not need to end up on the news. They don't need to end up with articles on CNN and they would happen or whatever outfit which decides to report on this, saying they have employees that do this type of thing. So, of course, they're going to cover their asses. Upon his return, he was called to work, sat down, and was informed they just investigated the incident and were terminating him. Unbelievable. Just like that, a BS allegation is enough to end a 15-year career over somebody's opinion. They felt he was insulting black people. He said he was not, and the makeup is that of his own heritage. Yeah, he was wearing the makeup of the... I'm thinking, is it Dawn of the... I forget the fuck it was, but you get the point. I'm sure many of you guys saw the movie Coco. It's actually pretty good. I'll give it that. Now another question you may be asking is, what the hell does the situation have to do with his work? After all, it never took place on company property or even during work hours. That is all correct. It took place in private residence at a private party. So how could the company fire you for something that had nothing to do with their company? Because at the end of the day, all it has to do is get out in the media that their employee was doing something like this and it makes them look bad and they don't want it. And they figure you're not going to fight back. Well, they justified it because he was wearing his uniform and it felt like it could be traced back to the company. But wait, what does the uniform look like? It's a gray suit and tie. Like you could go to any major department store and purchase one like it. But he was wearing the name tag. Yes, it was covered by tape and the name Mark was written on it in a black Sharpie. So there's obviously nothing tying back to the company. This was totally bogus. You bet your ass it is, but the company doesn't expect you to fight back. Last time I checked, there's other people in this world named Mark. Something also important to the story is that in our city, if you work in the hospitality industry in a casino, you have a union to represent you. Aha! He immediately went to the union to file a grievance. In the meantime, Jose would have to find other banquet positions elsewhere to try and make ends meet. Yeah, he still has to freaking make a living. I'm assuming Jose's been smart enough to put away money. As I warn all you guys to have an emergency fund because shit happens in life. This gave him more free time, but also less money. He also consulted with lawyers to be ready to sue the company over false termination and seek financial compensation for lost wages and suffering. But he would have to wait for the union to complete their investigation and arbitration for his complaint. This was going to take time. Yeah, and the casino's going to drag it out as long as they can. The casino's got deep pockets, obviously. They've got lots of lawyers, you know. While Jose was terminated, Maria began to control the narrative. At work, she would tell her side of the story and freely admitted that she and her husband were behind the anonymous letter. People who really knew Jose and Maria knew this was all BS. Many reached out and spoke to him about it. They got to the other side of the story, but at this point, there was nothing they could do. So Jose gathered as much evidence to support his side and even a list of people who were willing to make statements or even testify on Jose's behalf. It was a waiting game now. That's great, but Jose has people that care about him. But again, this Maria chick was supposedly his friend and started all that freaking drama because of her scumbag husband decided to just was upset about it. Yep. Fast forward several months, in the summer of this year, his case finally came out to have a hearing between the union and the company, allowing both sides to present their cases. So this all went down on Halloween, and then probably in November he lost his job, and it wasn't until this past summer of 2024 that finally saw all those months. Witnesses and written statements would be presented. I can't say much about all the details in this private hearing, except that they did call in Mark, who testified that yes, Jose did ask my permission beforehand to be me for Halloween, so there was no problem. Well, that's good. The union presented a very strong case on Jose's behalf, and the company was trying to continue the claim of BLACK face. But they had no legs to stand on, and the union suggested that if they felt that strong over this nonsense, then let's take it to the judge for arbitration. The company backed down completely. If they took it to arbitration, both sides would have to come out of pocket for $10,000 each, and the judge could not only reinstate Jose back in his position, but also could reward him with massive financial compensation if it fell into Jose's side. And probably would. This could also be put out to the local news and become a PR nightmare. So they set another hearing and would come up with an offer. It's all about the PR. So weeks later, they all met and they offered him his job back. Aha. He says, yes, that's it. Trust me, these casinos are so powerful that alone is an actual win. Casinos never admit wrongdoing no matter what without a massive legal fight. They have their money and the lawyers to bankrupt you and will destroy your life and never look back. But Jose came back with a counter-offer. Even the union rep said that his offer was completely fair and they are almost certain to accept it because it's humble and shows you are not trying to be greedy. He asked for not only his job with all his seniority back, that's important with the union job, but financial compensation for all he had to pay out of pocket for his pension and his health insurance while he was unemployed. It certainly sounds like a fair offer to me. I agree. And I'd be like, oh yeah, P.S. fire Maria. Well, they accepted his offer and they told him they would process everything and get back to him soon. At this point, he was celebrating, knowing his finances were going to be back to where they were and get his job security back. But more importantly, he gets to look Maria in the face when he gets back. This is good. Yep. It took the company 6 weeks to reach out, and that was only after Jose bugged the union to ask what the hell was going on. So they dragged it out. Of course they did. They reached out and said that by this certain date, the company would reach out and have you sign papers and return to work. This finally happened, and he came to sign his papers and get reinstated. Guess who was there? Yep, Jose was talking with some of his old friends from work, and when out of the pantry comes Maria. Oh, she probably looked in shock to see him back. She looks up to see Jose and turns white as a ghost, stops and walks back to the pantry. She had nothing to say, like he came back from the dead. Maybe that really was the Day of the Dead. Jose returned to work, and it seems that the company is walking on eggshells around him. Yep, darn right. They don't seem to give him any difficult assignments and seem to let him take days off as he requests without any fuss. As for Maria, she lost so many friends and nobody seemed to talk to her anymore. Unless it's work related, she is like a pariah. Everyone knows what she did. Yeah, would you want to work with her or trust her? Hell no. There's still a plan in the works for justice, but I will leave that part alone. It's not done yet. Aha, I wish you did. Hopefully it's dealing with her. I just want to make some points here. For well over a decade, Jose and Maria were very close and always took care of each other. Even during the COVID crisis, Maria and her husband were going through very hard times, and Jose and Betty had loaned them money to help them pay their rent, and even went and bought groceries for them and their kids so they wouldn't starve. You gotta be shitting me. 10 years they're friends, and during COVID, because they obviously didn't save money, because people weren't working during those several months when it was going down in 2020, this dude and his wife were lending him money, getting him groceries to help them and their kids. And this is what she did to him. It's also speculated that Maria's husband Ray was jealous of Jose and Maria's relationship and thought the two of them had a past as more than friends. When I grilled him on this, he told me, no, there was nothing between us. Trust me. If I did something to her, I'd tell you. I know him long enough to say I believe him, but Ray seems to be the type of guy who's pretty jealous and insecure and petty. After all he had done for them, they still devised a plan to try and ruin a good, hard-working man's life and livelihood. Yep. Now, this isn't all on Maria. Obviously, her husband's a douchebag too, but this goes to show you the length that some of these gals will do. And, of course, bullshit in the workplace. All over the possibility that her outrageous behavior would cause Jose to report her to HR. Yeah, you remember that part in the story when she was freaking out about his costume at Halloween and berating him in front of people. And he's like, look, you can cut this shit out, I'm going to report you. Boom. She knew he wasn't going to do that. He only said that because he was so hurt and shocked by all what she was saying to him. As a man, it's only natural to defend yourself when you're being attacked, especially if you didn't do what they're accusing you of. Her blowing up at him because she could not control her emotions was another example of a woman who refused to be accountable for her actions. She decided to throw away the friendship of a close friend who went to bat for her and her family to try to save her own skin. It was pathetic. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the story, SSM. There are a lot of good lessons to be learned about this. Be careful who you trust and always be ready to defend yourself. But most importantly, do everything you can to never put yourself in a bad situation, which can take a bite out of you in the ass later. But if you do, be ready to fight like a hell to defend yourself. I wish you all well, and I hope to send more stories to help the community. I love to spread the wisdom and help men better and help raise our future boys to be strong men. Well, amen. And keep me posted about this thing that you said you can't mention about, obviously more things going on behind the scene. Probably his way to probably handle Maria. I'd like to hear about that. But anyhow, I'm glad your friend worked out for your friend. But there you go, guys. I don't need to share the lesson because you heard it from him about that type of thing, about gals in the workplace and accountability and all that. And you can do all these nice things and look what happens. Now, don't get me wrong, her husband is an a-hole too, and he's guilty in the situation. But at the end of the day, she chose, how she acted in the workplace and what she did. I mean, he lost his job. A darn good to make it $200,000 a year, and they did things to help them. So, guys, just watch it with the female coworkers, and frankly, being friends with girls. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you got a good story you want to share? Email me. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Whether it's a story about something you're going through, a struggle, or something you overcame, a great success story, or if you got a question about some scenario, send it my way. Believe me, I'll make use of it if it definitely works for the channel. This also goes for any good articles relating to, men's stuff, funny stories, or stuff we can learn from to help guys out. I appreciate that too. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.